Thank you very much. I'm back. It's been 6 years, I guess, since I last visited with you here. And this time we're going to do it on videotape so that if I tell you any of these lies now, you'll be able to show them to me and play them back for me down in Florida when you come to visit me down there. See if some of this information is really, that I'm telling you to do is really being done. You know, I suppose that's the fun of teaching school for me still. Teaching at FIU makes me run a better restaurant today, and back when I last visited you, I was running a hotel and restaurant. Makes me run a better property because the business is really one of basics, and it always has been, and it's being good at fundamentals. As I got looking at my notes here, I got thinking, you know, what am I really going to tell them that's brand new? What am I really going to tell them that's that different? I suppose it's just as you are doing right now. I've gone to many different conferences, and I've come into them with high hopes, you know, of getting the magic answer for something that I would really benefit from in terms of increased business or more profit through some kind of cost control or reduction. And I find as I've gone away from them, that very, very seldom have I ever come away with the specifics of an idea that worked magic. Every one of those ideas that I've ever had always meant that I had to go back and work harder. I had to go back and do something that I already knew how to do, but now I was going to have to dedicate myself and give the time and the energy and the effort to making that particular thing happen on my own property. So whether I'm attending a conference or teaching school, I would submit to you that probably in teaching school you're a little more sensitive because you don't want to be telling those students things how to run the business and then find them in your own property discovering that you're not doing any of those things. So whether it's, you know, whether it's pride or whether it's fear, when it's local, you better behave yourself, you know. Now that I'm this far from home, there won't be that many visitors, except it will be on tape, of course, so that you will have the opportunity to remind yourself a little bit. The 15th Street Fishery is an interesting restaurant, which has happened since I last visited with you. If you recall, that Marina Bay hotel that I was describing to you ran very, very high occupancies because we had designed that place for people. We designed it for people. We put it in a second-class location in a very difficult place to find, much less to get at. And we had a very, very heavy occupancy. In the first 5 years of that property's life, without advertising or any kind of a referral business, and through the midst of the first recession in the United States, we ran an occupancy in excess of 90%. It was about 92.3 for a 5-year average. Now that meant we were extremely busy on weekends and extremely busy at the slow time of the year as well as at the busy time of the year. Well, since then I've traded my way out of that property. I was one of 5 partners there, and as a partnership we built the restaurant called the 15th Street Fisheries. I was the one that had to design it and kind of oversee the opening of that restaurant, and so I had an opportunity to kind of leave my partners run Marina Bay and take this 15th Street Fisheries for my own. They were doing it for a couple of good reasons. One of them, the fisheries opened in the middle of the summer, and it was very slow. We didn't advertise there either. It was very slow when we started out. And so we were pouring some additional capital in, and they're saying, this maniac Hurst is the one who got us to invest in this restaurant. Wouldn't it be nice if we gave it to him now? This would be a nice thing for him to have. And furthermore, I was kind of enthused about that restaurant, and so I said, you know, I don't know if I want it. I was a little hesitant about taking that commitment. And so I said, but I tell you what, if we know what Marina Bay is worth, so I know what my share of the partnership is worth. If I can figure a value for the restaurant, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll either sell you my interest in the restaurant along with Marina Bay and let you buy me completely out of the partnership, or I will take that restaurant and in exchange for my interest here in Marina Bay, I'll take your share of the restaurant and I'll give you my share of Marina Bay, and you give me some cash in the restaurant and we'll work it out. We'll set up an exchange here. So they figured, well, this restaurant is going to be nothing but a handicap for us, and it's a loser, and if he's so stupid as to take the restaurant, let him have the restaurant, and then and we'll work it out. So I got a very good price as I sold out of Marina Bay, and I got a very good buy as I bought that restaurant because they were looking at it as unloading something that was going to be something they were going to teach me a lesson with here. And now the worm has turned on the thing. And so I go over to this restaurant that's doing poorly in the slow season, and now we start to to do some of the things that had been being done at Marina Bay. But I got to tell you, first the story of Marina Bay, then the story of that restaurant. Marina Bay now was under the operational direction of the 4 remaining partners there, and they decided that many of those programs and those ideas, which I'll describe a little bit today, many of those things were being too expensive, and if they just cut the food cost a little bit, and they just cut the labor cost a little bit, and cut some of the promotions back in terms of size and that sort of thing, that they would make an awful lot of money. That they now were going to have their opportunity to really make money. And so they did cut the promotions back, and they did cut the quality of the product just a little bit in terms of the food, and they did reduce the value of the dining experience as well as the drinking experience and as well as of the value of staying there. In short, they got the labor cost better, they got the food cost better, they got the promotion cost down. And you understand, being professionals in this business, that's an easy thing to do. I can come to your property. You tell me how much you want the food cost down. I can get it there tomorrow. In fact, if you want perfect food cost, I know how to get that immediately. You just don't unlock the door and you got 0 right to start with. Now those guys got those costs down. But I want to tell you something. They also got rid of the customers. They can look at their financial statement and say, look at that food cost. Is that ever great? And they can look at that labor cost, but when they get to the bottom line, they're looking at that thing and they're saying, we're not making money anymore. You see, I suppose it reflects that little example of Marina Bay is a great one. It's typical of what happens to our business all over the world. It's typical of every restaurant that I've ever been involved with or hotel where we got the volume way up. Some guy comes along and buys it and figures out that if we just get the cost down a little bit, we're going to pay for it out of the cash flow in 2 years. And he gets those costs down immediately. He turns those things around, but suddenly he loses customers. And the next thing you know, it's being sold or transferred to somebody else at a bargain basement price because the property's in trouble. You see, I suppose the moral to the story is really this. When you manage a property for profit, you lose. You manage a property for people, you make a lot of money. When you start managing for your employees and when you start managing for customers, and when one step at a time you're building both the strength and knowledge of your staff as well as the customer base, you're a winner. You're going to make a lot of money if you keep increasing that customer base. Now that 15th Street Fisheries restaurant that started out slow, well, you know, at the end of the first year, I had it almost up to break even. Almost up to break even. Now, that wasn't any great accomplishment, but I was still committed to not advertising, and we were in a tough location, a tougher location for that community. And so each year since then, we've had a 20% increase in customers. I look at an $800,000 to $1 million a year sales increase as normal thing now. That's normal course of action for that restaurant. Now that I have that restaurant up to $5.2 million a year, and Marina Bay is down there not doing that much volume in overall food and beverage, and they have an investment that's got to be 20 times what mine is, I sort of laugh. And they look at me and they say, you know what he did? He stole all our customers. I said, no. I said, I didn't steal any customers. I said, you let them go. You drove them out. Customers aren't stupid. I didn't have any mailing list. I didn't have ads that said, Mike Hurst has this now. Don't go to the New River Storehouse or Marina Bay. I said, all I did was one time, one day at a time, even one of you guys be telling me that I stole your customers. I said, it is kind of funny, though, when your help over there at Marina Bay sends your hotel guests over to my restaurant. I said, I love it when they do that. I keep asking them on the phone, I said, what's the matter? Isn't your own restaurant any good anymore? And they say, yeah, well, that's the problem. We'd rather send them over there. People say nice things about the way you treat them over there, and they always enjoy it so much. I say, you see, they've sort of lost sight of what business is about. They sort of think that all you got to do over there is unlock the door and wait for people to come and extract profit from those people. Extract as much as you can from those people while they're there. And that isn't what it's all about. It's giving the customer something to talk about while they're there, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant. Same thing, my friends. In hotels and restaurants in the United States, those that are being successful are being managed for customers. They make a lot of money. I suppose the simplest tool that I work with as a restaurant operator or as a hotel operator, forget about computers and systems and controls and procedures, the simplest thing that keeps in perspective what my job really is all about, that should keep you in keeping proper perspective of your own properties, is like a 3-year diary that I have on my desk, a 3-year date book, in which I'm showing the customer counts now for a restaurant or the house count. I don't want percentages of occupancy. Nonsense. I want how many room nights we got last night. I want how many meals we served yesterday. And I'm comparing it to last year and to the year before that. One step at a time. My job as the leader is to make that thing bigger and better than it was before. How to get more room nights, how to get more dinners, how to get more lunches. And I must not divert my attention to the administrative aspects of the business which are important. That's a security blanket. That's like sucking your thumb when you start worrying about the controls and the procedures. Those things must be done. There must be a discipline in place so that those things happen within your property or mine. But my job as the boss is not simply to unlock the door and deposit the money. My job as the boss is to be figuring out how to build it, how to give a better experience, how to strengthen the food presentation, how to give more value to the customers, how to give away fun and excitement, how to keep score in the morning, if you will, to have that score produce winners. In 1984, I was looking at that thing, 365 mornings, and out of 365, we had 361 winners. We lost 4 times. We went under 4 times, and every day that happened, each of those 4 days, I thought, this is the beginning of the end. This is the first day in a 20-year downward slope that we're hitting here. And I'm going to hit the rock bottom as a result of this particular loss. I understood the weather was bad. I understand there's no convention around. I understand the economy is good or bad. I don't care about those outside conditions. My job as the leader is to win every day, to win as many days as I can. And after you've been doing it for a while, obviously you produce more winners. After you've been doing it for a while, you've learned through mistakes the kinds of things not to do, the kinds of things that don't work, and you tend to do more things that do work. And so I understand that when I'm doing that, if you will, in that restaurant, that work is part of it. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's not something that I can just talk to my staff about and have them execute. It means that I have to be there managing from the front door, and that's different. Managing from the front door and not the back door. I have to be the good example. I can't do it by memo. I got to be there smiling and being friendly. My performance is catching. Your commitment, your pride and enthusiasm in your own operation, your delivery, if you will, of the perfect experience at the front desk or at the front door of the restaurant is what commits that operation to excellence. There's nothing worse than being at that front door and having people questioning your parenthood. Calling you names and stupid and idiotic and everything else, berating you in front of your employees and others as a result of a bad experience. I want to tell you something. I understand they're upset. I understand that something went wrong. I understand that this is my fault. I don't care who it was that failed or what caused this particular disappointment. First, I got to take care of this customer. Got to take care of this one immediately. By whatever legitimate means there is possible here, I am going to apologize and comp the meal and comp the whatever and send them a gift certificate and a letter, and I'm going to take care of this particular instance, this problem. And as soon as they get away from me here, I'm going to either get on the telephone, because you see, I don't dare leave the front door. I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call the supervisor in the kitchen, or I'm going to call whoever it is in the dining room or the bartender, and I'm going to say, please, let us make sure that this doesn't happen again tonight. There's a problem. Let's take it off the menu. Let's take that item off. Let's not serve anymore tonight. I don't care if the rest of it's okay. I'll look at it and figure it out how we can do it better tomorrow. Watch that particular employee. Help them. Don't let this kind of a circumstance cause another customer to be upset. You see, quality control exists at the front door of your hotel or of your restaurant. It's too late for training programs when the customer is leaving. It's too late. It's too late, if you will, to be going through that dining room and to be hysterically raising problems in service and everything else. Now's the showtime. Now they must perform. And if you haven't done it before, then you're going to have to fine-tune it just a bit when you catch a problem. But there's nothing like the presence of the proprietor at the front door towards providing a hospitable experience. You see, we start to learn that we do have to work. How could I face you coming to my restaurant or hotel? How could I face you 1 week, each and every week for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years without talking to you about new things? Talk to you about the weather, talk to you about the economy, talk to you about politics, talk to you about athletics. I got to be talking to you about new things that relate to this particular place of hospitality. And I would submit to you that new food and new promotions are the key tools that we've all got to work with. There's only so much you can do in the hotel rooms. There's only so much you can do in terms of advertising. But it's the exciting new things that you do that keep those nifty people who work for you or for me giving away that rare gift of friendship, making them enthused and proud about this special place they work at, yours or mine. I got to keep my help excited is what I'm telling you. I got to keep them excited. New food and new promotions do that. New food and new promotions keep me excited, and by sharing those things that are happening in this special place, yours or mine, by sharing those with the customers, they go away becoming salesmen for us. That is what word-of-mouth advertising is all about. If we don't get word-of-mouth advertising, if you will, without working for it. I'm saying to you that to get a customer to be a salesman for us is a highly desirable objective. How to make a customer a salesman is the target, if you will, should be the basic target of every manager. That's why scorekeeping in the morning, or with customer counts, is the simplest criteria that there is in terms of judging a manager. What did he do to build the operation? That building also happens with the skill and strength and knowledge of the staff. A manager has to be a builder. Well, I guess what I'm saying then is 15th Street Fisheries, or any place of hospitality, is better when management is truly managing. If all you're doing is working long hours and controlling the property, you're nothing more than a janitor. You're a custodian of the property. You make nothing happen there. You let it happen to you. Those are the kind of people that complain about the economy. I mean, I hear about recessions in Florida. When we're going through that big recession in South Florida, oh my gosh, I mean, my fellow friendly restaurant operators are calling me up, telling me how bad business is. It was embarrassing for me to be telling them that we were going through these big customer increases when they're telling me how miserable the season really is, how terrible things are. Since the dollar strengthened and we don't have South American tourists in Florida, how terrible things are since the economy fell off and people aren't coming to Florida anymore, how terrible it is because of the advertising program or something. They got all the reasons to be dying. And they enjoy talking about dying. But if you ask them what are they doing about it, they can't do anything. They've already accepted the fact that they're going to go out of business in a gradual way. Or they're not trying to fight back. They're not going back to basics and run that restaurant the way it should be run or that hotel the way it should be run. They just have great security in finding out if they figure if they tell me a bad enough story, maybe I'll try and top them and tell them I have worse occupancy or I have a worse problem, and that makes them feel good. They're sick, but I'm terminal in terms of this thing. That's what they're looking for. They get comfort in that. What a crazy way to run a business. How could I let you run my business that way? How could I turn the keys over for the 15th Street Fisheries to someone who wasn't a builder? I'm not looking for a janitor. I want somebody who is trying every day as best they can, not every day is a winner, but every day as best they can to build the operation, to put their own name over the front door and to make it a little bit better through more customers, through a staff that's given a better performance. I want somebody who is trying to build. Because you see, if they start getting the taste of that success and they start scoring points, whether a recession comes or not, we're going to watch a restaurant it's alive with people. Alive when it's the slow season, alive when there's a recession, just plain alive. Don't you understand? I suppose that's the essence of what hospitality is all about. As I've understood it, in terms of this business, a place of hospitality is supposed to be a vibrant, living thing, full of people. Isn't it more fun? Isn't it more pleasant to go to a busy property than to go to one that's empty? When you go to one that's empty, you think, what's wrong here? Did everybody die here that was here yesterday? Is it socially unacceptable to be seen in this property? What is wrong? Why am I alone here? My friend said this was a good place to go. And the food is all right, but it doesn't taste nearly as good as it's going to taste when there's a lineup of people waiting to get in, when there's a wait list to get reservations, if you will, when the people have to call way far ahead to get into the property. Now, people want to go to a place they can be proud of. Simple as that. My customers want to be proud of their favorite place of hospitality, be it a hotel or a restaurant. You know, that tells me this. My customers will be salesmen for me if I will just teach them what this property is all about. If I will just tell them the special things. You know, that's a basic rule in selling. Never let the customer alone with the product. You teach them what makes your property special. You teach them what makes it the best there is. You teach your help what makes it the best there is. Your help have to be proud of this place where they're working, and your customers must be proud. You must have things to be proud of. You know, in teaching school, I sometimes have hotel restaurant owners in the class. And I always counsel them or tell them to start right now making a list of those things that you have at your property which you can really, truly be proud of. Are they the best there is? Do your customers recognize it? Do your help talk about it? Or are you selling average, low-cost mediocrity like every other place that exists? You don't have to have everything top of the list, but you must have something, one thing, or more, that is truly super special and makes you stand out from the others. You got to have a point of difference in terms of selling. You got to have something the customer wants and appreciates and recognizes as being very special. Well, that's kind of the story of the business in the States today. That's kind of, we've sort of come through some things, and I'll relate the food business because I do say to you that food and promotions are the things that fill hotels, the way you do it. Sure, there's some kind of an advertising program, and yes, there are some other things to do in terms of filling the hotels, but the basic tools that are the ones that are the most productive in terms of that work are the food and the promotions that you do. So kind of taking you through what's happened in the food business and then where the food business is going in the States today sort of tells you, as you figure out where your position is in this particular cycle, sort of starts to tell you what's going to happen. In terms of the States, fast food and limited menus were the story of the 50s and 60s. We had high demand and we had very few facilities. And so we could get away with the limited menu approach. Restaurants became money machines. How efficient you could get them. How minimal the service and training and experience of the staff could be. How low the wage cost could be. And how productive those people were. the idea of a very limited menu in the fast food places, as well as in the atmosphere restaurant places, as well as in hotels, was a common one. That was the magic for making money in the business. Then we run into a little bit of a problem, and the emphasis started to shift in the 60s to atmosphere and decor, the dining experience. And now we started to hear about theme restaurants, and we started to watch everything from the importance of color, you know, reds and browns and oranges and golds, as being the warm colors that made food look better and tended to help people relax and enjoy themselves. We watched that kind of emphasis, and we watched an understanding, or the beginnings of an understanding, about friendliness, except we interpreted that in the wrong way. We started saying friendliness was a mechanical thing. Good afternoon, my name is Mary, and I'm your waitress today. And we thought that is, you know, a sincere expression of interest, but it wasn't. But it was the beginning. It was where it started. So we had kind of an automated, if you will, type of atmosphere that developed in the 60s and 70s. Now, in the 80s, in the States, we see a tremendous interest on the part of the public in food. Tremendous interest in food. Different food, food from different parts of the world, different combinations of food than we've ever seen before, French and Japanese combined together. We're seeing unusual, people will try interesting, unusual things as long as they taste good. Not just stuff that's funny, funky stuff that doesn't make any sense at all when you eat it, but stuff that really tastes good. In interesting combination, we start to pay attention to different presentations of food and this sort of thing. So a great love affair on the part of the American public today with food still exists. You know, and that thing doesn't relate to the recipe so much as it does the pedigree of the food. The name of the captain who catches the fish is far more important than we even think. The name of the farmer who raises the raspberries or the strawberries or the mushrooms becomes a very important part of the dining experience. When you're getting something that's very special, that indeed the best there is, and you show them and you tell them, now they will use that type of information and saying the next time they have strawberries that aren't particularly distinctive, you know, the name of the farmer that raises the best raspberries in this country is. So you see, people are looking at that story that goes with the food, whatever that might be. So I'm looking around, I'm looking for stories all the time as I'm developing new food items. I'm insisting that the suppliers tell me the story. What is the name of the captain? What is the name of the farmer in New Zealand who raises these raspberries? I understand we get them through a co-op. Tell me who the biggest one is. Tell me who that contributes or participates in that co-op. Tell me the one that has the best story in that co-op, and I will talk about him enough and try and make his place a tourist attraction. People will want to go and see that particular farm when they're in New Zealand and buying those raspberries, or looking at raspberries in that part of the country. So the idea then, if you will, of a love affair with food, new foods, interesting foods, different presentations, as well as a story as it relates to food. Now where does that lead us? The next phase, if you will, of competitiveness in the United States. The next phase that's coming. It's around the corner. And the sophisticated management people are starting to recognize it, comes with sincerity and friendliness. Comes with nice people who are not treating you as next, order please, large or small, here or to go. Who are not processing customers, but who are looking at them and recommending and talking with a great deal of knowledge about their product, and who are truly customizing the approach to the customer. Customizing the approach. It's not next, order please, how fast to get you in and get you out. It's going to be the ones that give away that fundamental of hospitality, that is the gift of friendship. That is the essence of the hotel experience and the dining experience. How to give away friendship in our places of hospitality. And so we're watching people paying attention more closely now, starting to, in the hiring and then in the training of people and the things they do to keep those people performing at tip-top, to keep those people from doing more than just delivering the food. You know something about workers and work? I suppose that's common around the world. The nice people who work for me, in the absence of leadership, in the absence of direction, would simplify the work. The cooks could very easily look at the forecast for meals for tonight and cook all the food at 2 in the afternoon. Ideally, they would like to sit in rocking chairs back in the kitchen and sort of visit with the waiters and waitresses that are out there picking the food up. They just soon mass produce the food. That's efficiency. And now, if there wasn't this commitment to cooking to order, to doing it correctly, that's hard work. That's hard work. I pay them for hard work. There's nothing easy about this business. This business doesn't get easier for me. I have to work as hard the first day I get back as probably as hard as I worked the first day I took that restaurant over. I'm still working hard, and I'm still addressing the issues of basics. I'm not discouraged about the basics because I understand that I can beat 85% of the restaurants in North America if I simply execute those basics very, very well. And so I'm excited about the basics. They're an opportunity for me, to show that we are a well-disciplined restaurant. There's a team here that's performing that somehow does deliver hot food in the dining room and does not let the hot food simply exist in the kitchen. I mean, such a basic thing as that. Well, I suppose the business then starts as we talk about how to get to this friendliness thing. There has to be an understanding of what's happening management-wise in the world. There was a great to-do made about the book In Search of Excellence, and I suppose it does relate to our hospitality industry. That book In Search of Excellence started to tell us that we must perceive ourselves as a customer business, as a service industry, and indeed we are, and we always have paid lip service to that. But that means when we perceive ourselves as a service industry, we're going to guarantee the product, and we're going to have a different service. We're going to be doing better than we did yesterday and more than our competition is doing. If we're going to be a winner, then we've got to give a little bit to get something. We have to be outstanding to be a winner. And that means progress, one step at a time. I may not be the best there is today, but wait till a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, a decade from now, you won't recognize this place. One step at a time, each and every day, the rest of our lives, that's our obligation. How to make it better. How to get one more customer. How to blow the roof off the place. Or wear out the carpet. Whatever it might be, it's filling it up with people. That's the job. The understanding, I suppose, in terms of that book In Search of Excellence, led us to a commitment to excellence, a commitment to being the best there is, to striving to be the best fast food operation, the best little hotel, the best big hotel, whatever it might be, one step at a time, making it better. And I suppose the key thing in that book, as far as I was concerned, was those nifty initials, which we remember also easily, this idea of MBWA, management by walking around. Get out of the office. Your presence at the front desk, your presence in the dining room is what is important. That's where recognition is given away. That's where the commitment to those high standards of service and product become apparent. You're not afraid to be out there instead of hiding in the office. Once I heard a fast food chain speaking at their convention in the States. I heard somebody say at that conference that the problem was we've gotten our units too big. In the beginning, we never had an office. And the manager used to work at the front door of the restaurant. But now that we have an office, he's filling out the forms and taking the inventories and figuring out the daily labor cost, and he is analyzing the business like hell in the back. And nothing is happening out front. There is no recognition. There is no friendliness. It's that typical greeting you find in an American restaurant or hotel. In the hotel, the clerk who looks you right in the eye, knowing there is not one room rented, knowing that there is not one reservation open for tonight, nothing coming in, nothing rented, looks you in the eye and says, "Do you have a reservation? How many nights are you staying?" Like you're going to be a problem if it's more than 2, on the thing. You're standing alone and they say, how many are in your party? And you're looking around wondering where the party is here. That same clerk with a full deck, every room occupied, now looks at you and says, do you have a reservation? They want to make you lie. They want to just test you out. There's no reservations. The house is full. Do you have a reservation? You say yes, and she says, no, you don't. Out! You know? You see, somehow the accountants of our world have told these people, be they hostesses in a dining room or front desk clerks, that it's important to balance at the end of the shift. You must do your accounting. You must have the records straight. And these people think that their job is balancing. Who you want to have at that front desk is somebody there who never balanced in their lives, who simply smiles and says, it's nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I was getting lonely here. Perhaps the greatest book that really reflects what's happening in industry and in our business in the States has been a very difficult book to read. It's been out a number of years. It's Toffler's Third Wave. In Toffler's Third Wave, he's talking about what I mentioned to you, this customizing of service. He says that we've come through the agricultural revolution, and then we came through the industrial revolution, where we had mass production, low costs, high efficiency, and now suddenly today, the world is looking for something different. They don't want to all be the same. They're looking for the Gucci handbags and the specially designed cars. They're looking for unusual things, little things as well as big things. And so this customization, if you will, of service and product is very important. That tells you something in terms of the world. It tells you that the company that, for instance, standardized food service in the United States was Howard Johnson's, the Orange Roof. The Orange Roof is in trouble. You see, had you or I gone to work for them when we were age 18, the first day we came home to our parents and we told them, it's a great job. I mean, it's a great company. Here's all the things they have. And we told them about the different food products and services they provided. Basically, those food products were 28 flavors of ice cream and a hot dog and a clam sandwich or something or other. If we had worked there for 40 years, and we come home and we talk to our family, and one of them dares to ask, what's new? You kind of got to look at them like, what's wrong with you? I've been working in this place for 40 years, and there has never been anything new. 28 flavors, clam sandwich, and hot dog. How excited is that lady or that gentleman that is working there for 40 years? In 40 years, 28 flavors aren't too exciting. In 40 years, a clam sandwich gets to be a bit of a hassle. You see, how good's the clam sandwich? Same as it's been for 40 years, you know. Look at it this way. They haven't taken it off the menu because people get sick. It's still there, you know. The hot dog's still there. Yeah, it's very exciting. It really is. It's a special hot dog. A lot of people say nice things about it. I don't understand why, but they do. You see, the idea of no newness there. No nothing. Now people would rather see those Orange Roofs each have a different product. Be doing some stuff locally. Interesting, unusual, distinctive foods that are grown in this market, that are readily available, cooked differently, presented differently, not like they would do at home. You know, I've had a lot of home cooking that hasn't been too good. I'm glad my wife isn't here right now, but I've had a lot of homemade stuff that hasn't been, well, it's been an experience. Let's put it that way. On the thing. Now, you get into, when we're talking about something that's homemade, we're talking about something that is so good that the local people don't even cook it that way at home, don't present it that way, and they think this is really distinctive and special. If you want to try something really good, you've got to come to this special place of hospitality, your restaurant or mine, to try that product. How do you get those things? One step at a time. Testing new food. Hey, what is this business of food? It's working at food, not figuring out how to get the cost down, what to do with the leftovers and that kind of stuff. What it really is trying new food products, trying new recipes on a continuing basis, a discipline. How many hours a week does your chef spend testing new food products? I want them all the time. I want every Saturday 3 hours. I don't give my chef that responsibility. He's got to make it. He's got to make the food product. I'm the one who knows how important it is. I'm the one responsible for customers. I'll find the recipes. If he finds some, that's fine. I'll find the recipes and I'll give them to him. We'll do it the way the recipe's printed, the way I change it, and then we'll do it his way because we're going to do that anyhow. And so we have 3 food products, 3 ways. But I'm the one who says one Saturday after another, 52 Saturdays a year, that's the objective. 3 recipes, 52 Saturdays a year, 156 new recipes will be tried in my little restaurant. And then people say, well, we don't have a chef like you do. We don't have a big fancy chef that can do it. I don't have a fancy chef. I have a guy who is very good at consistently preparing food. He's Swiss. My wife is Swiss. For imagination, 0. For hard work with a straight line plowing through this row of people and across these tables, they will get there. You know, if they have to go over or under everybody here, they will get from here to there. You just got to aim them. And so this guy gives me consistency. He gives me quality. That's what's such a precious thing. We can get together and agree on how we will do it in our particular production situation with our equipment, and he gives it to imagination. He's not responsible for that. I am. I can't pass that one off and say the reason we're failing, the reason we had no increase in customers is because my chef isn't imaginative. Fire the chef. Then I'll hire another one without imagination. Fire him, another one, and another one. I can honestly say it's my responsibility. Now, if I also get a chef that's imaginative too, that's a wonderful thing to have 2 people that are doing it. But for now, 1 is enough to keep working at. This idea of customizing that product and making it different and distinctive. With respect to Toffler's third wave, he starts talking about things like we're going from a managed society to an entrepreneurial society. We've learned that you manage from the bottom up and not from the top down. Good friend of mine is turning a restaurant company around in California, essentially. Turning it around, he has 48 restaurants in this company. And they are all losing money, or were. Now, what does he do? He's never in the office. He has an office that the old president had. He doesn't even have a secretary. Doesn't even have a secretary. Transferred her over to some other department in the company. Where is he? He's out in the restaurants. He says, you don't solve this sitting in the office and writing menus. You don't solve this by writing memos and policies. He said, I got to take that manager by the neck and show him how to run a winning restaurant. And so with district managers and vice presidents, he said, no offices. You will be in those restaurants because the objective is to keep this company alive. We're losing big money, and we have to turn it around. And the way you turn it around is at the front door of those restaurants. If we have to create new menus, we will. We'll create the new food products in the units. We'll test them out in the most fundamental research of all on the customers in our own places. And one step at a time, we'll make them better. He's done this for 2 other companies the same way. I said, Vince, after you do this one, I said, please. I said, what a silly thing to try and turn around 48 restaurants. I said, you'll have so much fun and make so much more money if you just run one good one yourself and forget about this thing of being prez. Because you're working weekends and nights. You haven't got any special deal here. You might as well do one good one yourself. It's so easy and so much fun to do it for yourself instead of worrying about all those guys that are not doing it for you. Instead of worrying about that whole organizational structure that simply does not understand. I said, one thing's for sure. I got to believe that those managers are highly motivated when the president of the company is there working at the front door. I got to understand that the service is going to be friendlier and that the food is going to be hotter, that the stuff is going to be prepared correctly, or they have reached the ultimate appeal point here in terms of job security. It will be taken care of immediately, or it is goodbye. He said, yeah, it does have kind of that effect. They see me coming and they turn and they run. He said, when I enter the restaurant, they know they got to get the kitchen cleaned up. They got to get things ready. I said, sure. I said, if you ever get this organization around, I know exactly why you have left all your other operations. Because when you go to the office, there is no fun in running the restaurants anymore. There is no challenge to doing it from the office. Vince, I said, you're always going to be out there. That's where you make the money, not in the office. You're always going to be out there with the customers. All right, this idea then of managing from the bottom up means that he has 48 separate challenges, 48 separate markets, and he appreciates that. 48 separate managers that have to make this sort of thing happen for him. I suppose that relates also to another thing that Toffler refers to, and that's the idea that we have gone from a vertical society and business organization to a horizontal one. Nobody cares about the organization chart anymore. The working president, the working manager, he doesn't have to wear a sign that says he's the manager. He doesn't have to wear a special uniform or be in a special office. You know, that first happened, as I recall it, in basketball, professional basketball in the United States, with the playing coach. What a difficult thing when the coach is a player and has to know when they should put themselves into the game and when they should take themselves out. Our job as management people is as the playing coach. We have to perform along with the others and set the pace for the operation. Be the example of friendliness, remembering names, working hard, if you will, at seeing to it that we're delivering the 100% experience for our customers. What a tremendous uplift that is for that 40-year employee, for that employee working the first day, when the manager's working alongside and says, good job. Says good job, not because they're just patting them on the back artificially, but because they're clearing the table right along with them, because they're talking to people, listening to people talk, and saying things. The playing coach, if you will, is the style of today. And Toffler talked about that back in 1980, I guess, when he wrote the book. Talked about that idea. So Toffler's third wave starts to tell us the management role of today is just a bit different than it used to be. Many of us in the United States, at least, our earliest management experience was the Army. We learned about lieutenants and colonels and generals and privates and sergeants. We learned about rank and organization charts, about delegation and control, and that's not the style of today. Delegating and controlling, that sounds so nice. That sounds like we're manipulators. But society today does not want to be manipulated. And so they're looking to us to be the leaders, to be the performers and the leading performers. Participative management, the style of today, doesn't mean we have a committee meeting and vote on what we're going to do. What it means is that on some decisions we may involve the staff, but it means that you are far better in terms of your leadership role. You are far better to ask an employee a question about how to do it rather than to give them an order. But if you simply ask a question, sometimes they'll surprise you with a better answer than even you thought of. And if they give you an incorrect or improper answer, then the next step is to ask another question. Because once you have led them, if you will, to the proper answer, it is now their answer. People work better performing the things they know they should do. Not because we command them to, not because we order them to, but because they feel good about being a professional or an expert. So this idea, if you will, of the style of management today simply means, I guess, that we can't manage today as we did yesterday and still be in business tomorrow. We can't do those things we used to do the way we used to do them if we're going to get results, if we're going to score 361 or 365 victories in our property next year. We cannot do them the way we used to. We have to start thinking about this style of management from the front door, this style of management for people. And I would submit to you that is the theme, if you will, of today. Management for people, not for profit. Management from the front door, not from the back door. That's what the hospitality business is all about today in our country. And I suppose that's what will make those places that are successful, that's what will bring them alive with customers. It's that style, it's that orientation of management. They will become vibrant living things full of customers, and they will be a lot of fun to go to. We can pay the same price or a little bit lower. We can go and have a meal that is very ordinary. But people are looking for those little things which make them stand out. I, as a customer or a tourist, am looking for things that are unusual about the places I visit in your country. Not just good, unusual. I'm looking for the distinctive, unique experiences, if you will, not for low food cost. Very hard for me as a customer to get excited about your food cost. Very hard for you to teach a waiter or a waitress to tell me the reason the portion's a little smaller than you see in most places is we have the best food cost in this chain. This manager here runs the outstanding labor cost hotel in this chain of units. That's why the service is just a little slower here than it is in other places. There is no pride in food cost. There is no pride in labor cost, and you build a business with pride. That's the way you build your business or mine. You build it with pride. The help have to be proud. They will share that pride and their excitement and enthusiasm with the customers. You got to teach them things to talk about. That's why that 40-year employee at Howard Johnson's hasn't had anything new to talk about. Loses their enthusiasm. They have personality and pizzazz and sparkle and imagination and everything else, but their job is now order, please. Because there is no management that understands what hospitality is all about. The key to the business has got to be selling our present customers. How do you get the people who are in your property today excited about this property so that when they go home, they talk about it? What are you doing to make it interesting or unusual for these people while they are here? What little things do you do in terms of your budget? How much money is invested or committed to selling your present customers? Now that sales job has got to involve talking to the customers about it. You cannot let the customer alone with the product. So you must talk about these new things that you do, these special things that you have, so that when your customer is 1,000 miles away, experiencing someone else's service or product, they say, you know, the reason I like to go to is because they must have a specific reason, because that makes them look like they're very intelligent. That's the ego trip that's so important. That's the customizing, if you will. You've got to have different things. If you just got the same stuff, then you're not being very competitive. The idea of building that customer base means you've got to be competitive. You can't just sit and wait for the business and complain about weather, economy, and whatever else you can think of to complain about. There are all those reasons that exist for everybody. And yet there are those places that are busy. When the economy is down, it's too late to start a program back to basics. You're already in trouble. You've got to be back to basics every day the rest of your life. I'm sure that your hotels, as well as your kitchens, the front desk, as well as the cooks, all think the same way. When they've had just a huge amount of business, a big check-in or a big checkout, when they've had a fantastic number of meals served, they all feel like they survived a battle or something. They feel like they've just come through a war here. You know, that they're still alive. You know, I thought I was going to die in the middle of it. You know, the phones went down, everything went bad, the lights went out, the power went off, and the whole thing, it was a mess. But we lived through. How many did we do? They want to know what the score is. Did we break the record? You know, in my restaurant, that's a great thing because they know that I have 240 dining seats in that restaurant, and we have never done 1,000 meals in that restaurant at night. We're open from, 5 to 10, and we have never done 1,000 dinners. Now, we've gotten to 967, and every Saturday night, those cooks know, before I go downstairs, I'm coming through the kitchen, I'm talking to the cooks a little bit. They say, we're going to be busy tonight. You see, I'm at the front door, and they're not going to see me, except maybe they'll hear that phone ring. Then they know there's trouble when they hear the phone ring in the kitchen on the thing. But they're not going to see me again till the end of the night. They say, we're going to be busy tonight? And I look at them and I say, nah, it's like a slow night. Why don't one of you go home? See, I only have 3 cooks in the kitchen. I'm saying, why don't one of you go home, and we're going to be really slow tonight? And they look and they say, oh, you lie a lot, the thing. You lie a lot. We're probably going to be swamped here in about 15 minutes. You're going down there and you're just going to blitz us tonight. And I say, we're going for the record, guys. Don't let me down now tonight. Remember, it's 1,000. I said, if we have to seat till 3 in the morning, we'll go out and drag those taxi cab drivers in and anybody. We're going to get 1,000 tonight, right? I say, yeah, okay. 967's the best. At the end of the night, when I'm coming back up, they're looking at me and they're shaking their heads because they're still putting orders out. I've seated the last people, but they're still putting food out. They've got about another hour to go. And they're looking at me and they're going to say, I think we broke it tonight. I think we broke it. The number's going to be 1,016. They're guessing what it's going to be. They can hardly wait to hear what the total is. You see, and then as they stop on the way home or as they're visiting with their neighbors the next day or whatever it might be, saying, wow, were we busy last night. Can you imagine? Our restaurant did almost 1,000 dinners last night. And here it is, June, July, August, the slow time of the year. We can't do any more business on a Saturday night any time of the year than we do. August has become our 3rd busiest month. That's the rotten time of the year. That's the low part of the South Florida season. That's when everybody's gone because it's too hot there. You see, we're not worried about the heat. We're just having fun with customers. How to get them there in spite of the heat. How to make this place very, very special. The cooks are contributing and feeling like it. I keep saying, look, if 3 cooks can do 1,000 dinners, then on a Monday night, we should have 1 cook for 333 dinners. You see, when you're going to figure that out, but right now it won't work. You're going to be able to figure that out, but right now we think that 1 cook can't hold down 3 stations. You can't do that. I said, well, we got to try it. I got to get better cooks than you guys are or something. I mean, got to get more versatile people. You see, and they keep saying, will we get another cook if we get to 1,500? I said, no, I got it figured. We get a 4th cook and we get to 2,000 dinners. 2,000 dinners? I said, yeah. I said, isn't it fun? You'd be the only guys I know